And we are live. What is up, Sober Nation? I am Veronica Amarante, and I am with Tori this evening. Hi, Tori.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. It is Thursday night. That means the weekend is around the corner. And I am ready to have a weekend to myself and practice some self-care. How's
Oh,
it been going for you this week?
me too. It's been crazy, and I'm ready for Friday to roll around and the weekend to start.
Yeah, so we want to say what's up to everybody that's joining us live. We just came over from Instagram, and it's not like we walked or anything, but we were just live over there and invited everybody from Instagram to come on over to Facebook and join us this evening because we are discussing a topic that we've kind of been talking about all week on the Facebook page here at Sober Nation. We've been talking about the most common misconceptions about recovery, being clean and sober. And as you guys may know, hey Nancy, what's up? And as you guys may know, there's a lot of misconceptions. Hey, Shay. We went ahead and polled and started a poll and asked you guys what were the most common misconceptions. And Tori went ahead and wrote an article about it. And Tori, are you going to drop that
I'm
link
gonna
in the
drop it
comments?
right
Perfect.
now. Give me
Hey,
one.
Alicia. Hey, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for checking in. What's up, Amelia?
Oh, shoot.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching the replay and you're not watching this live, thank you for watching anyway. We know not everybody's going to have a chance to catch us live, but again, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. So there's the link. Hi, Jessica. Who else is with us this evening?
John,
Hey,
one day at a time. That's right.
Hey. So we hope everybody's having a great night, but let's get right into the topic. Let's talk about misconceptions. You guys have the article there. I don't know how many of you already read it. And if you can hear us okay and you can see us okay, if you spot any tech issues during this broadcast, leave us a comment. Let us know. Hey, Sacramento's in the building. Becky, what's up? Thank you for watching. If anything gets funky during the broadcast, let us know. Sometimes, the picture and the image looks okay to us, but we may not know that you guys can't hear us. So definitely let us know. This is a live show. We try to do a lot of testing and we check technology. We make sure the levels are right, but it's live, so anything can happen. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Jessica? And it's moving really fast, all the comments. So I may be missing you if you're saying hello.
Okay,
but
I'll catch you.
Thank you. Feel free to cut me off. Teamwork. All about teamwork.
Akron, Ohio's in the house. Mm-hmm.
What's up, Jack, Sheila, Richard? Recovery does rock. Definitely. Okay. So again, the link is in the comments if you guys want to go ahead and check out the article that we're going to be talking about, common misconceptions about recovery. So let's get started. Number one misconception is relapse makes you a failure.
Ooh, that is a tough one. I mean,
that's a tough one. You wanna address that one first, Tori? Why don't you address that one first?
Oh yeah, I'll address that one first because I have a lot of experience with that.
Well, then take it away, my friend.
Yeah, I have relapsed more times than I can even count. But and a lot of the time my self-esteem was crap, and I'm gonna try not to cuss on this show.
I mean, I curse a lot in real life, but we're gonna try to keep it, we're gonna try to keep it politically correct and be, not try to curse.
But sometimes it just takes more than one attempt to get sober, and for me, that's what I found. At one time, I guess it wasn't my time at the time. So, what do you think, Veronica?
Well, I mean, I definitely felt that way when I relapsed. I think that we are taught in the beginning, you can't relapse, obviously, and our supports and the people around us, especially family members, our loved ones, definitely want us to stay clean and sober. We want to stay clean and sober. So when those expectations are not met, you can't help it but to feel like you've failed, especially if you've been trying really hard. And, I think that more people are now starting to understand that it's not a sign of failure if you relapse, but I also feel that people don't want to promote that because they also don't want people to feel like they can relapse and that they should relapse, because it's kind of like this double-edged sword of making relapse so acceptable that you kind of feel like, well, it's totally cool to relapse, so let me just go ahead and do this real quick and relapse. And so I think people are afraid to kind of lend a lot of support, to people who relapse, because they don't want to create this environment of, relapse is cool or it's okay. But I definitely have always been against shaming people for relapsing. I think that keeps people from coming back. I think that keeps people from reaching out and really being honest about what's going on. I think that, sometimes people do go back out and are afraid to be honest about what's going on because they're shamed. So I think there's a really big difference, between, shaming someone and just making them feel like a failure. Well, it could be all in the same. To make somebody feel like a failure because they relapse is sort of shaming. But so I think that once you are shaming, I think that at that point it's just not necessary. I think that people do a lot better when they're not shamed. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think for me, like my relapses, if I didn't have those, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If I didn't have those relapses, I wouldn't have learned what I learned through those hard times, and I wouldn't have become the person I am today. And I tell people that all the time. I mean, we don't shoot our wounded, if you will. Like that's a saying that I always say, because I've been there, and who am I to judge someone who, goes out and relapse when I've been sober for a while. Definitely, if you've been there and it, I don't know, doesn't make you a hypocrite, but at the same time, it's like, or I don't know, like I'm not going to put someone down for relapsing when I've done the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I was told like the only thing you lose when you relapse is your clean date. You don't lose what you learn, and all the recovery that you gained during that time. And, that made a lot of sense to me at a time. But we now know, too, that it's very risky to relapse. And some people don't make it back.
Absolutely.
And, that's something that we deal with every day, especially for those of us who have a lot of friends who are in recovery. Not all of us make it. And so we're very scared of relapsing. I know a lot of people who say, I know I'll die if I relapse again. So I think it's good to have that healthy fear because we don't know. But, again, shaming is not the answer. And I think I saw a lot of people comment and say that they agree.
Right. Absolutely.
So, the comments again are moving fast and I'm having a hard time reading them. But yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, too, I mean, a relapse is not a requirement for sobriety. I know plenty of people who just get sober once and that's it. And, great on them. But some people, that's just not their story. So.
Yeah, no. And I think that's amazing. And by all means, I'm sure that's not easy. And, it's not easy either way. Recovery is not easy. And I think that's actually one of the misconceptions.
It is.
We'll get to that one in a second. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about misconceptions in recovery. What are some common misconceptions? So feel free to add your own. We're talking about an article that we published a couple of days ago. And the link is in the comments section if you want to go ahead and check it out.
I'm going to drop the link in again since there's been quite a few comments.
Yeah, there's been a few. They're flying. Yes. Terrence, thank God we made it back. That is right. No, relapse is not a failure. Antoinette. Yeah. No, thank you everybody for chiming in. And then we'll also be in the comments, if we don't get to your comment live, we'll go ahead and, once we're done with the live broadcast, we'll jump back in and say hello in the comments. So misconception number 2.
Yes, let's hear it.
That if you are in recovery or that if you're sober, everything will fix itself. Tell me about that misconception, because I think I get what you're trying to say in that article, in that misconception, but I don't know if I get it 100%. What do you mean?
Okay. So, I mean, for a long time, when I was getting sober, I thought one day I would wake up and everything in my life would just be perfect. I mean, obviously I wasn't using anymore. Obviously I was living a good life and trying to work, some type of program. But at the same time, I found out that life happens and, people lose jobs. You know, I had a death in the family at one point, and you know, sobriety taught me to work through that and to be a better person, and stay sober through all that. And because I've been sober through all that stuff, I mean, I think that and other people go through lots of things in life and do stay sober. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, had thought that when I got sober, my life would be perfect, and it's not. Things still happen, but I get through it, and I stay sober. So.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean now. Yeah, I thought that once I got clean and sober, that problems with my brother would just go away, right? Like all he wanted me was just to be healthy. And then once I proved to him that I got it together, then him and I would have a relationship again. And I think I talked about that during our last broadcast. You know, he didn't talk to me. Like, I think I had like 2 years before him and I had a relationship again. So that took me, you know, by surprise, that relationship didn't fix itself the moment that, you know, I got it together and I stopped using. So I thought that would fix itself, you know, for sure. What do you guys think? Do you guys think the same? Did you guys expect or have that misconception that once, you know, you got, and also like if we're doing it to please other people, that's definitely a misconception that like, well, if I go to treatment or if I stay clean and sober, so-and-so is not going to be, you know, giving me so much, you know, such a hard time. They're going to like leave me alone and that relationship is going to fix itself. And then we find a new set of, you know, issues. So I'm sure that's another time where you can think that that's, you know, that getting sober is just going to fix that problem. And, you know, it just it really doesn't. Life goes on.
If you're doing it for that reason, you know, a lot of the time it doesn't really work. You know, in my experience, what I find out, if you're doing it just to please someone else, then it's you know, at the long run, you're going to get tired, and self-will, it's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go on to the next misconception. Sober people are boring. Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with that one. So what did you think when you were writing this? What was your take on that misconception? Because that one, I think I did read that one in the poll that we put out there.
Yeah, I read that a lot. There was a lot of those ones, and I think that when we get sober, I mean, we started using drugs and alcohol as a way of fun, and the fun turned to problems, and the problems turned to a lifestyle of desperation. And so, you know, when I got sober, I was like, well, where's all my fun gonna go? And quickly I learned that being around young people in recovery, because you know, I thought that when someone got sober, it was like, okay, I'm just going to like sit in this room and drink a bunch of coffee and listen to people, you know, talk about the way life used to be. And, you know, over time I found that like I have had the most fun sober. I've been to music festivals sober, done, you know, been skydiving, done all sorts of different things, traveled to different countries, and it's definitely not boring.
Yeah, no, I agree. When I got clean and sober, I discovered that I was actually a really funny person. And like I made a lot of jokes and made a lot of people laugh. And so I was actually not as bored as I thought I would be. I, you know, just thought I was going to be so bored. That was definitely a misconception that I had, that I'd be super bored, that I wouldn't do anything fun. And it actually kind of surprised me to see how much fun I did have when I went out, and how much, you know, I actually laughed and enjoyed myself, you know, and like just like at work and just activities I never thought I'd enjoy without using a substance. So what do you guys think? Did you guys think it was going to be boring being sober? Did you guys expect it to be any other way? I mean, I know there were some people that did not think it was going to be fun, but they were so tired of using all the time that they knew anything would be better than feeling how they were feeling. And it's true, like towards the end, it gets to the point where it's not fun. It actually becomes a lot of work to not start going into withdrawal, and like people just keep using so that they don't have to go into withdrawal. It's not even something that they enjoy anymore. And there's actually, I've talked to some people who say that they didn't even get high anymore, that they were just having to take what they had to take so that they could function every day and show up in their lives. So they stopped having fun a long time ago. So I think that at that point, anything is like better than feeling
Better
that
than
way.
doing that, right?
Yeah, go to the comments. Let's see what people are talking about. Only boring people. Brian, I love that. Only boring people are ever bored.
True.
Yeah.
That's so true. I like that one. And I thought it was going to be boring, but I actually am more fun sober than when I was using.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I found things I like to do. Yeah.
I love what Christy says. She's like, we're the cool kids. No, it's true. And actually, I've seen some articles about people kind of like being trendy, and like the hipster thing to do is to be sober and alcohol free. And I've seen a few articles about that and being cool now being sober. And it's kind of like, ugh, like we used to do that so back in the day, like we don't do that anymore. And kind of like this people who still like use and drink. And so seriously, like in some circles, like that's really the case. And I do think there's something super cool about not having to have a substance in your system to have fun, and yeah, I just don't think we are at all. Let's see. Not. Heather says that thinking got me drunk again. I know that feeling.
And some of the sober people that I've met are some of the most interesting people that I've ever known in my entire life. Just different artists, and you just find things that you like to do in sobriety, and what a cool thing that is, rather than sitting at home and, having to drink or use on a weeknight or a weekend night, being out with friends, doing things you want to do. And it's so much.
Remembering what happened. Right? Like there were times that I couldn't remember, there's movies that people have told me I've gone to see at the movie theater, and I can't tell you anything about those movies that I'll like straight up. I've been around people and I'm like, no, I never saw that movie. Like, what are you talking about? We went to the movie theater and we saw that movie. I'm like, no, I've never seen that movie. And I've gone to see movies that I cannot even remember it. Like, that's so lame. Like, not only did I waste my money, but like, what? Like, it's the worst feeling. I love what I love what John said. He said, I would rather be boring than dead or in prison. That is very true, John.
Oh, I like it.
Me too. Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that definitely agree. Amelia, we're definitely the cool kids.
Yeah, I can't even, Jessica said, I can't even remember the fun I had when I was using. So being sober is definitely more fun. Yeah, I don't remember a lot. I thought I was having fun at the time, apparently, but I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. The next misconception is all sober people talk about using. Are you referring to like the war stories and people talking about just that's all we talk about? We have nothing else to relate over?
Yeah, and I think that like when I got sober, and I've known other people that say like, oh, when you get sober, like, what do you have to look forward to? All you're thinking about is the fun you had back. And first of all, it wasn't fun at the time.
Let's discuss that. Yeah.
Right. But I think that's a huge misconception because, it's like, oh, like thinking about the good old days, like back way when, and it definitely wasn't. And I didn't get sober to talk or think about my using all the time.
Yeah.
I got sober to have a life, not think about my old life.
Yeah. And I think like at first, when I was in early recovery, I remember talking about, using stories and kind of like what they call the war stories and other people doing that. And I think that that's something maybe you do like in super early recovery, but it gets old really quick. And at least for me, it did. And it's just like, really like, it just gets to like, A, it's not impressive. B, it just gets, that gets really boring talking about, just that. And I don't know, it's just something I don't need to reminisce about, but that's just me. What do you guys think? Do you think that that's a thing? Did you guys also have that misconception that, sober people talk about using all the time? I mean, I don't know, like I just don't, but I've also, have a little bit of time. And it's just something I don't talk about unless, I'm having a conversation with people about what it was like, or I'm sharing my story. But even when I share my story, I don't really go into a lot of the war stories. I go into more of, stuff that happened to me that I think shaped me, but not, the using part, like those details.
And I think kind of what you said is I think it's important to remember where you came from, but not necessarily dwell in the past.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Charity said, when I was in rehab, I hear more war stories. The more I talk about how my own ignorant, sad. Oh, just skipped. Wow, these are going fast.
Super fast. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up. Heather says, not true. We share experience, strength, and hope. Yeah, I actually hear like a lot more positive things, or just what people are up to, what they're doing. And I don't know, like, again, maybe in early recovery, you kind of like have to relate to people, especially if you go to treatment, you kind of like still, kind of just new to everything. And that's all you've known for so long, that's probably all you really have to talk about, because you're changing and you're learning something new. I love someone else said that they had no expectations. They just wanted like a better life. And that's awesome. Yeah, Tony said that. Yeah. Who else? Let's see. Jeremy said, I love my stories. They were good times. Yeah. So Loretta said, I did not want to be sober. I didn't think I would have fun. I'm going on 9 months and I'm totally in love with my sobriety. Oh, I love that. Happy 9 months. 9 months was hard.
Yeah.
9 months was hard.
Oh, you're 9 months of sobriety, full term, just kidding.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, yeah, no, I love that you're having fun and that's where you're at, in your recovery. Heather, I'd like to talk about the solution. Yeah, exactly. Like, you might touch on the drinking days and what you went through, just to like, because that is part of your story.
I like what Charity said. She's
go ahead.
To flock with post sobriety, we grow and prune. I love that.
Love that.
Yeah, I try to hang out with people that are, have similar goals and aspirations as me. Hang out with who you want to be is what I've always heard.
Yeah, yeah. Tony, the war stories have a purpose, that is to qualify myself to the newcomer, but without glamorizing them, and segue into our recovery has helped me. I love that, Tony. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a perfect description of like the use for that, nowadays. Okay, the next misconception, and everyone's going to chuckle at this one. Recovery is easy. I mean, you know what? I'm going to like address this one right away. Like, looking back on how hard I thought it would be, like in the big scheme of things, it wasn't as hard as I made it out to be in my head before, but like, so measuring it in that regard, it was easier than I thought it would be, but it's definitely a lot of work, and something I have to work on every day. What do you think, Tori?
I think for me, it was that getting sober, like the initial point of it was easy, but staying sober and staying in recovery was not easy. All the stuff that I had, that life throws at you when either you get out of treatment or you're just getting sober, and it's a lot. And I used to drown it with either alcohol or drugs. So yeah, it's just a lot, and it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not easy, in the sense that, now you have to own your stuff. You have to kind of face life, without any buffers, and anything to like, medicate yourself with. It's that part is not easy at all, where people can be like, oh, I can't wait to get off work. I'm going to happy hour, or whatever they do to like kind of de-stress from work, whatever. We don't have that. We just like go on, we call our supports, or we call our friends, or, we're like, listen, I just had a heck of a day, blah, blah, blah. We have other ways to deal with it. But I think, it's so funny, because this reminds me of like what my friend said, and she used to say a lot, like, I wish more people could use a program, right? Or like more people should try getting clean and sober, because it does make you look at yourself. It does make you take ownership of, your actions, your behavior. how you show up every day. And that part is not easy at all, to have kind of like that, kind of code to live by, because we know, like, any other way, like, we're just going to be going backwards, and it's like a downward
Absolutely.
slope, from there. But yeah, it's not easy by any means. But compared to some other things that I had to do, like you said at the beginning, like putting the stuff down was not hard. Staying,
Right.
keeping them down and not picking back up and staying that way was like definitely the hard part for me too.
Yeah. I remember when I like first got sober, I was like, when I was feeling stressed out, the first thing I wanted to do was go take a drink, and over
Yeah.
time, as my actions changed, so did my thinking. So that really helped me. And even today things happen and I'm like, oh, that would be so nice right now. But then I'm like, well, no, definitely not. It would ruin my life. And I would miss like next Christmas. I wouldn't even, I don't know where I'd be. So
No, we don't want that at all. Good night, Jessica. She's saying good night, everyone. I enjoyed, but it's time for bed. Have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, Nubia said it's harder staying sober for sure. Hey, Nicole, happy 15 months and 7 days. That's awesome.
congrats, that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. That's so sweet. Charity, Heather, it's a process of changing our thinking, our behavior. It's a journey, not an event. Yes, it's not something that happens overnight. It's a journey. It's something you have to continue doing and going on.
Nubia says, I wish the normies would have a 12-step program.
Yes,
Me
that's
too.
exactly what my friend said. She's like, she used to throw so much shade. She used to be like, some people here could use a program. That's exactly what she used to say. Jessica, I relapsed 3 times with alcohol, so thankful to today. You're celebrating 3 years, or you're just saying in general? Either way, congratulations. That's awesome. First time tuning in.
Nicole's first time tuning in. Welcome.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here.
No, we're so happy you guys are here. And again, if you're just joining us, we are talking about the most common misconceptions people have about recovery and sobriety, and just getting down to it. We're going to go on to the next one, which is to avoid places where alcohol is present. Yes, I don't know, like, if you guys, so there was so in 2016, I was invited to the White House. You've seen this, probably have saw it on my website, Tori.
Yeah.
And I was on a panel with Mr. Macklemore, and he was actually releasing his documentary about the opiate crisis. And we were on a panel, and we were asked a lot of questions. And this was the one point where him and I kind of like almost disagreed. And he just did not, and I'm not going to speak for him at all, but him and I just kind of disagreed, where he came from the school of, he didn't want his friends to treat him different. So he didn't want to avoid any places, that served alcohol, which, hello, he's like a rapper. He's a superstar. Like, he can't, so he definitely, but I think in the panel, I was saying something like, when you're first getting sober, maybe you shouldn't be going to places where, there's alcohol present. I think that there's times where you should definitely, not put yourself through certain things, but there comes a point in time where you're stronger, you definitely also don't need to avoid, like, you wouldn't leave your house, if you were to avoid,
Right.
where alcohol is present, because it's everywhere. Tori, tell me all about this misconception.
So I was very not skeptical, but like hesitant on putting this one on there because I don't want people to say, well, like, because this article says this, then I can go to a bar where alcohol is, and I didn't want that. And so, I think that early in recovery, you have to really check your motives. If you're, out with friends and you go to dinner, and so many times I've gone to dinner and there's a bar, there, but we're just eating. I definitely don't have to avoid that. I'm with other sober people. But, and today, the longer I stay sober, I can go other places where there's alcohol, and I'm with other people. I have my sober supports I can call, and, it doesn't really bother me today.
Yeah, no, I think, again, when you're just getting started, maybe you need to like, and you feel like that's going to be a trigger for you. I don't think you need to put yourself in that situation, or you go with a friend of yours or a support, or you call someone. I think you definitely need to have a plan if you're new to recovery and you're new to sobriety and you're going to be, going to a restaurant and feel like if you see a bar, you're going to be triggered, go to the restaurant with somebody that supports you in your recovery. Right.
Right.
But
Right.
you can't you can't avoid life, and I think that, the foundation that we get, whether that's in the rooms, whether that's church, whether that's treatment, whatever that is, gives us the tools so that we can go out and be in places where there may be, alcohol being served, and we don't feel like, we're going to go ahead and relapse because that's present. Like, we're supposed to have tools at this point that can help us, deal with that. And hopefully that's not the case. So I know why you were concerned, because even like up on that panel at that time, and it was like live and like broadcasted by MTV
Right.
News, got a little awkward, and I was just like, well, I just think you need to. She's like, but at the same time, I don't want my friends to treat me different. I'm like, okay, you're right, but like, it would just got like a little awkward. But let's see what the comments are saying. And you know what I can do? I think I can actually like display comments so that everybody can go ahead and
Cool.
see like some of the ones that we're reading. So let's see if we can do that. Peace out, Kathy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Jessica's agreeing. Heather's agreeing. Charity said, I agree with you.
Nicole says always have an out. And I think that's so important. I have to go home and go to bed, and there's so many different, I have to answer this phone call. There's so many different ways you could have an out if you're feeling super uncomfortable too. So
yeah, no, for sure. That's always like my tip. If there's, especially like the big holidays like 4th of July, Labor Day, where there's always like cookout, like you don't want to be, the person who doesn't get invited to things because, there's, and all those things are things that we face in the first year, and all those new situations where people don't know if they should invite us to a party because they know they're going to serve alcohol. So they don't want to be, awkward, or they don't want to make us feel awkward. So, you can't like stop living life because you got clean and sober. Like, the point is for you to go live life. Now you're just not using. And I know that sounds simpler said than done, easier said than done, but it's like the whole point is so that you can participate, you can go, but that you always have a plan, and have, a backup. Let's see what else. Who else is saying something? Agree with you. Thank you. Takes time to change. Yeah, Heather. Girls are. Thank you, Jessica. Always have an out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll display that one, see if it does it. Yeah, there it is. Hey, Nicole.
That's awesome.
That cool? Always have an out.
Do that.
Give your man a certain phase and he knows it's time to go or something. Like come up with a code or something, like pull your hair, like if you tap your twice, or like, do some weird code and then be out. Exactly.
Out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is so cool.
What? Let me see. Nubia said, my home group goes out to dinner after our meeting named Tequilas. We go to eat and drink, and thank God it's not any of us anymore. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Bravo saying, I hate being around alcohol, and I used to be out almost every night. I mean, yeah, like some people cannot, be around it anymore. It's like at some point you make a decision whether or not you want to be around that stuff, and it's up to you and like what you feel comfortable with. Absolutely. Yeah, let's see what else. Brian, that's a long comment. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't think I can even read it. Tori, do you see the comment? But Brian left us a few lines.
Oh, Brian, they say that certain people have a chapter in their life that they don't need to read out loud. However, if my story is the key to unlock someone else's hell that leads to their sobriety, it was worth it. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for just being there. Not just for me, but for others. It means worlds. Keep up the good fight. Look forward to future broadcasts. Thanks, Brian. That is awesome. And I'm so glad we got this up there.
Right? Because there was no way that I was like, and I'm over here like making faces while you're like, I'm sorry. Carrying the message. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
walk.
hello. I love this. I walk miles for booze. I can walk home or Uber if I'm uncomfortable. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Great.
So let's get to the
Last
last
one.
misconception of the night. Ooh, this one. Okay, the last misconception is addicts and alcoholics are bad people. Come on now. That is a major misconception. Tori, you wrote the article. Tell me why that one was in there and why you felt it was one that we needed to address.
Well, I think there's such a stigma around, you know, an alcoholic is someone who lives under a bridge, or a drug addict is someone who's in jail and has, and that's, maybe other people think differently, but that's what I feel that a lot of our society views us as. And I don't think that addicts and alcoholics are bad people. I mean, definitely not true. I know amazing people. Veronica is great. I know so many amazing people that have done crazy things in life that I could never imagine. And I certainly hope that, like to believe that I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person. And at one point I did bad things, but that doesn't make me a bad person. So
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the stigma. I mean, Hollywood does a great job at portraying,
right.
people who have substance use problems as like the villain, or, the person who's just like a mess. And I think the more that we start sharing our stories, the more that we start, sharing with people that, hey, yeah, I'm in recovery, no big deal, and we start kind of coming out, and letting people know, like, hey, yeah, we're in recovery, like we used to do that. And people start seeing, and I think now more and more people are sharing their stories. So I think the stigma is starting to get reduced a little bit, but I think we still have a lot of work to do. I think there's still a lot of shame out there. People are still being shamed. I think there's still being, people do feel ashamed. I think there was another, I think it was in the article that we were talking about. I think I asked if people were ashamed or were concerned about sharing, their story or talking about they were in recovery. And there was somebody who did comment and said that they were ashamed to talk about, being sober, or, so there's a lot of people, which, by the way, that takes courage to say, like, in a national Facebook page that gets as much engagement as we do, to say that they're ashamed to talk about the sobriety, that, they're ashamed of that. I think that takes a lot of courage. And I think that, again, we're doing a lot of work to try to erase some of the stigma, but we still have a lot of work to do. And I think it's silly to judge everyone who's had a substance use problem as like a bad person. I think that hopefully there's, so many of us out there that I think, if you think about like all the service work that we do, right? Like that's also what we're encouraged to do. Like right when we get in, like we're encouraged to be of service. So we're like the opposite of like, I'm not going to say there's no bad apples. I'm not going to say that everybody who like, puts the drink and the drugs down is like perfect and a saint or a good person. Because there's something, there's a difference between, being a bad person and making mistakes. There's a huge difference. And I don't know, I've seen some people who are not in recovery. I don't know how they live with themselves with some of the things that they do to hurt other people. And, like there's, people who scam people for a living, and, I don't know, I don't think they are, they have an addiction problem. But, I don't know how they live with themselves. I could never go to bed at night knowing that I'm like scamming people out of money. And, it's like, no, not everybody, just like, I mean, there's just everything. We have everything in our community, just like everybody else has anything else in their community. Let's take it to the comments. What do people think? I mean, I think we all know the answer. No, we are not bad people. And again, if people only knew all the service commitments that everybody takes on, and just, I think it's silly to judge an entire group of people that way. So let's see what the comments are saying. I'm sure.
So Heather says some of the best people I've met and become friends with are all sober and have been homeless to prison. You would never know. And there you go.
I'm trying to find it so we can display it. Everybody can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, just walking down the street, I'm sure you've met someone in recovery before, but you didn't even know it. and they didn't look like a homeless person or a person that had been in jail. So, we're all over the place.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then Caitlin says, it's only the addiction that makes us do bad things. It does not make us a bad person. Right. Look, there's a lot of people who commit crimes because of their addiction. They never meant to commit those crimes. They were trying to do what they had to do. Now there are people that, did some pretty, damaging things and more serious things. And, but I can't tell you how many people have been incarcerated because of things that their addiction kind of made them, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I don't know.
I like what Loretta just said. At least the addict has an excuse for misbehaving. What's the normie's story?
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't. Where is that one? I missed that one. So I think I put up another one. But Nicole said we are better than the average normie. I mean, I think so. I think so for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. Who else? Feel free to read one. I'm just trying to scroll my way back up.
Tony says the lie.
This is the one you were saying, Loretta.
Yeah.
At least the addict has an excuse for misbehaving. What's the normie story? Just saying. No, I know what you mean, Loretta, for sure.
Definitely. That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure. So that is it with our misconceptions. I mean, let us know if we missed any. Again, we put out a poll, but we're going to be doing this hopefully weekly. We want to bring you guys more content live. We want to have more conversations where it's not just us posting things and you leaving comment. Let's make this a conversation where we're all participating, all doing this live, real time. And again, if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment anyway. I'm sure some of the people here will be notified that you left a comment. So, we'll keep the conversation going. And next week, we'll come up with another topic to discuss. We're trying to figure out what time works for everyone, was the best day to do these. So far, we've been doing them on Thursdays. If there's a day that you think works better, like weekends, like a Friday, if you think mornings are better or whatever, if you have any feedback for us, let us know. We're just getting this off the ground. We love doing it. We love showing up. We love hearing what you have to say and definitely hearing your opinion about some of these topics. I mean, again, this is why we did the article to begin with, because we took this poll and we wanted to go ahead and back and kind of bring light to some of these misconceptions and just set the record straight. That
if you want to see something, I was going to say, if you want to see something or read about something and for us to address something, go ahead and tell us. I mean, in any comments, you can email me, Tori@sobernation.com. You can send a message on Facebook, anything to get in touch with us, and we'll definitely address it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let us know. Give us the feedback. And then do you want to talk about the community forum? Because I think that's an awesome initiative too.
Yeah, so I'm going to drop that also in the comments. So we have a community forum on our website, sobernation.com. And basically, it's just a place where if you have any questions about anything sobriety, recovery related, you can post it on there. Other people can answer, and you can answer other people's questions. So I think it's really cool because we can also post an article in there. If you have a question and you want an answer, I usually moderate them, and we can post an article and you can go to that. And it's just a good resource for more community, more accountability. And we just started it, so it's just still coming off the ground, but it's really exciting. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's also, I should say, that is a more private place also to leave questions or leave feedback if you're struggling. If you don't have anybody to talk to, if you have a question about recovery or you're not in recovery yet and you're trying to figure it out, but you don't want to leave a comment so that everybody can read it, you could definitely join the community forum and have the conversation there. Tori's going to go ahead and create a post with this article so that the conversation can keep going in there. So if there's something that you wanted to say that you didn't want to share in the public conversation, which is this one here on the Facebook page, definitely sign up for the community forum. Again, that's a more private place to have community, and again, to support one another. And Heather asked, how do I get notifications? Well, if you go to the top right part of the box of this post, you're going to see 3 dots. And if you click that, you're going to see a drop down menu of options, and it's going to say turn on notifications for this post. That's one way that you can get the notifications, Heather. But also, I think if anybody comments in the article, like as a regular comment, you'll get a notification just like your other ones. If you get a comment on any of your posts, where you log into Facebook and the little bell icon, you're going to see a notification on there, and it's going to tell you that somebody commented on the post. If somebody replied to you directly, you're going to be tagged. So again, if you want to turn on the notifications, that's how you do that. Make sure you sign up for the community forum. Again, we're trying to get this thing off the ground, and this is your community, you guys. So like whatever you want to talk about, we're here to support you guys. We have some really exciting stuff coming up that I'm really, really excited to be working on right now. And I can't wait to share with you guys, but it's way too soon to start talking about it. So I'm so sorry that I can't spill the beans in this conversation. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving us your Thursday evening. I appreciate it. Tori, I can't thank you enough for making
so much.
No, thank you for writing the article and for being here tonight.
I really enjoyed writing it. I really enjoyed talking about it. So, and I'm really enjoyed, getting other people's perspectives and listening to reading their comments. So
yeah, no, this was so much fun. So we're going to do this again next week. It's going to be another topic. So tune in. I don't have anything going on next Thursday night, so maybe Thursday night. And what we'll do is we'll give you guys a heads up before. We are going to set a weekly date and time, so that way you guys know for sure when we're on. But again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a good night. And if you are catching the replay, thank you too for watching. And have a good night. Bye.
Bye.